By far the most important news we've heard this week was the death of Li. I think his name is Li Wenliang. He was a. Yes, his name is Li Wenliang. He was he was an ophthalmologist at Wuhan's Central Hospital, and he died from the coronavirus, which he had been the first whistleblower on. He died from the same virus he tried to expose, which is interesting and very saddening. I mean, he was the first person that really noticed it when when he said several of his patients had unexplained pneumonia, and he was silenced by the Chinese authorities. Now, he was a hero in his own ways, but China still is not giving really many respects because, I mean, as we all know, communists tend to think they're right, and they never really think of themselves as wrong. So, yeah, so Li Wenliang, amazing, well, kind of heroic, and he died from the same virus that he exposed when he was only in his 30s. And there's a lot of outrage. I mean, this could be a strain on the Communist Party of China. That's how insane it was. So, I mean, I had to include this in this. This is definitely one of the most important things that has happened in this so far, in this whole crazy drama so far. As it seems to be occurring every single week, well, actually every single day, crazy, insane news comes out about this novel coronavirus, or 29-nCoV, or nCoV. It last week, actually about a week and a half ago, it surpassed SARS for total number of cases. And now it has 4.25 times as many cases as SARS. Last week, when you saw my last update, I think it had 14,380 cases was the amount. There were 8 U.S. cases, 305 deaths, with 22 countries having confirmed a case. A global health emergency had just been announced. A public health emergency had just been announced in the United States. There was all the drama about the closed borders. And yeah, now, 1 week later, the number of cases is up above 34,400 as of, February 7th, with 724 deaths, including 722 in China, 1 in the Philippines, and 1 in the Hong Kong semi-autonomous region. So it is now 50 deaths away from reaching SARS in number of deaths. And there's a 99.99999% chance that it is going to surpass it, at least double it, in my opinion. Today there were 86 deaths from it, which is a lot, of course. I mean, that's the highest day so far. There were 2 straight days of 73 deaths, and then, you have this day where it goes up 13. There are 314,026 close contacts of this disease, which is crazy. And I'm guessing probably around 30 to 40,000 of those people have been infected, which, again, is pretty crazy. Now, most of these close contacts are in China. There are probably about 2 to 4,000 of them not being in China, and still over 99% of the 99% of the infections or the cases and the deaths are in China. But we have 2 deaths outside, and we have a boom in number of cases because of the cruise ship that landed in Tokyo, which brought, I think, 65 new cases, including 13 American cases, in 2 days to Tokyo, Japan. So now, instead of being having less than Hong Kong, which has, I think, 31, they now have 89, which is more than double, actually nearly triple as much as Hong Kong, and more than some provinces in China. Now, there are 12 U.S. cases, and, well, we all know there's only really one big case this week. But it was in Wisconsin. It was on Wednesday. That was the last confirmed case in the United States specifically. Now, it's a very weird situation what's going on in the United States. They still say the public health risk is low, but I mean there are like 400 tests ongoing, or there are 100 tests ongoing and 400 tests that have been done. But so far only 12 people have been infected. Of these, 6 were in California, 2 were in Chicago. Both of those people in Chicago were discharged from the hospital. 1 in Seattle, Washington, who was also discharged. 1 in Tempe, Arizona, 1 in Boston, Massachusetts, and 1 in Madison, Wisconsin, which is isolated at home, so she's not even at the hospital, which is pretty interesting to me because, I mean, normally they'd go through some pretty crazy procedures when a new illness arises. So, yeah, I mean, it hopefully it works because, I mean, this is it's relatively close to where I live myself. Not as close to Chicago. Well, I don't know. There are so many closed borders. I don't even want to count them. I don't even want to talk about them anymore. There's so many closed borders. Singapore shut down their borders. Tokyo shut down their travel with, Japan shut down their travel with China. United States shut down their travel with China. All pretty much many major cruise lines are not allowing people from Japan, China, and Hong Kong or Macau to go on their cruises. And yeah, there's too much to count. Mongolia, no borders anymore. All of that, it's just too much. I don't even want to delve into it. There are 27 countries and semi-autonomous regions that have cases of this disease. Of course, that includes the United States, it includes Belgium, that includes the United Kingdom, that includes Hong Kong, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Macau, Germany, Spain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. Yeah. So, I mean, there are more, of course, but this is now pretty much global on scale. There are only 2 continents in the entire world that have not reported a case, and those are Africa and South America. And Africa will almost undoubtedly report a case in the upcoming few days, in my opinion. So there are 4 cruise ships being held under quarantine or inspection for the testing of the virus. The most obvious one of these is Tokyo, where I think there have been like 65 at least cases of the coronavirus. And there's one in Hong Kong, I believe Singapore too. And then there's also one in New Jersey, which 4 people were being tested for it. And 1 was tested and was confirmed to have influenza A, which is H1N1. So I don't really know what's going to happen, but they haven't really quarantined that. They're really just inspecting the place. So the people are still able to like go places, still able to be tourists. But yeah, so there was that Japanese case explosion, of course. I mean, that was obviously not the greatest thing in the world. I mean, 65 new cases from a cruise ship. That's pretty crazy. And I mean, the living conditions there right now are terrible. And they have to wait 2 weeks in a room. I mean, what does that do to your mental health? Doesn't help it, I'll tell you that. So we also have, I just learned this, I think, 4 minutes ago. Well, actually, like 4 minutes before I started recording. There is the first U.S. citizen death. So we have our first confirmed, death from a U.S. citizen. And, of course, it was in Wuhan, because, I mean, there have been no deaths and only 12 cases in the United States. But yeah, so we have the first U.S. death, and I mean, that's not that good of a thing, of course. I mean, this in general is not that good of a thing, but now that someone in the United States has died from it, everyone's going to start to take it personally. So, yeah, pretty much that. Will this virus stop spreading once the northern latitudes get warmer? I had to ask this question because I really wanted to base my main points of this video off of it. No one knows. No one really knows. So With SARS, that was the case because the humidity and also the, well, improved hygiene with the, like, fear of contracting the illness, those combined to, well, limit the possibility of it spreading. And it wasn't really as infectious as this is believed to be. This is believed to be more infectious than even the flu. So, yeah. But it really is going to be like it's going to be a coin toss. It's like a 50-50, honestly. So as it gets more humid, I mean, when it's more humid, it's harder for viruses to, like, arise or to, like, kill a ton of people or infect a ton of people. It's harder for them to spread. Like, I mean, think of this, for example, like, it's very rare, if ever, that you will get a case of any, like, respiratory illness during the middle of the summer, unless you live in an extremely arid area that had experienced, well, an animal contaminated, like, illness. That's really the only way I can think of it. I've never been sick earlier than September in my entire life, or later than April. Like, seriously, I never have, not even once. So, I believe that the coronavirus will not spread as well during summertime. But, I mean, by then, there'd probably be, like, based on this crazy growth, I mean, even if it grew 3,000 cases a day, I mean, it'd be over 1 million. It wouldn't be over 1 million. It'd be probably about 400,000 by the time we had the first day of summer. So that's very alarming. Now, I don't know. Again, I really don't know. We don't know if it's going to spread easier, or, well, if it's gonna be harder for it to spread, or if it's gonna be easier for it to spread. Just don't know. So, I mean, it's gonna be a coin toss, like I said earlier. I mean, SARS, the spread was limited. Influenza, pretty much every single type of influenza, isn't really isn't really much of a problem during the summer months. And I mean, yeah, you can't really think of a respiratory illness that is, like, very major, like, specifically major during the summer months of the year. Like, I can't, at least. So, I mean, I'm gonna keep my eye on this for sure. I mean, I pay attention to this way too much. But yeah, it's very alarming to me that it already has 4.25 times the number of cases from SARS and only 50 less deaths. So I actually expect, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious that it will surpass SARS tomorrow. And I don't know if I'm going to re-record this or not, but I think that it is very likely that this will quintuple SARS in terms of deaths. So, I mean, that's not really something to be happy about. I mean, we have a pandemic on our hands. This is a pandemic. It is multiple continents in size, and it is life-threatening. So we have a pandemic. Congrats, guys. We didn't cook our food, so now we have 34,000 cases of a mysterious virus that causes severe pneumonia and a lot of people with weakened immune systems, and it's killed 724 people. But yeah, so there's my thoughts. Like every weekend, you will be seeing more of these, and I'm sorry that I was very I was not enthusiastic in the slightest. I'm sorry about that. I have contracted a coronavirus myself. It is called the common cold. Just remember that. The new coronavirus is not the only coronavirus. Like SARS and MERS are both coronaviruses, and the common cold is a coronavirus. So just remember that when you're saying it, because you can cause confusion, especially with how I say it. When I get sick, I'm like, yeah, I have a coronavirus, and they're like, what? Wait, you have the coronavirus? And I'm like, no, I don't have the coronavirus. I have a coronavirus. Get your facts straight. But yeah, so there are my thoughts, and, well, you likely will be seeing me next weekend. And I promise I will be more enthusiastic next time.